Coleman, and we should welcome his daughter because he brought his daughter with us today to share with us. And sisters, good. What's your name? I'm sorry? Ah, serious. Serious. Yeah. It's good having you, sis. And I don't know how often you have an opportunity of hearing your father, but we have to thank you and the rest of your family for sharing him with us. Our brother is very serious. He works with children. That's his specialty. He develops curriculum. And he is not only a teacher, but a teacher of teachers. And whilst we were at St. Rocco's, we found one of those unique situations because Cork Vicina, who was then the principal of the school, just by viewing the flyer, recognized who he was and had this brother actually running workshops for the teachers at St. Rocco's. So that's, one of the beautiful things of having someone who was sensitive and aware. Now, this is what the Board of Education for the cities of Newark and East Orange should be doing, having this brother out here sensitizing the teachers rather than bringing in the state. I don't know if you know this, brother, but the state now runs the educational system in the city of Newark, Passaic and Jersey City, the three largest cities. Now, I'm sure you can put together, and Patterson too, thank you. In fact, all the major cities, the state run the educational system. Now, I'm sure you can put together a team of sisters and brothers who can come and correct all that needs to be done. And we're putting it out there because if anybody has access, they need to get this information to the authorities that this is a brother who has the capability. It's demonstrated. Was it District 9? He worked out of District 9 in the Bronx for years. And that's one of the best districts within the school system of the city of New York. So rather than bringing in the state and continuing European education, you have someone here who can make a meaningful contribution. And before we bring up our brother, it is necessary to have someone like him because Holocaust studies is now part of the curriculum in this state, which is fine. Are we going to make what the Belgians did to our sisters and brothers in the Congo part of the studies, where they kill over 10 million Africans? This is just in the Belgian Congo. This is just in the Belgian Congo, and this came from the records of the Belgians. And Chinwuzi did the work in his book, The West and the Rest of Us. It's documented in there. Are that going to be part of the studies? 10 million. 10 million Africans in the Congo. You don't hear anything about it. No, this needs to be part of the studies. We're not claiming only 10 million. This 10 million was just in a period of maybe 20 years. We have to go back 3 centuries and deal with that. So this is how important a brother like Booker T. Coleman is. And it's indeed a joy to have him here. And we thank him for all the hard work, dedication, sacrifice, and contributions he's made. Sisters and brothers, let's visit the Africans in Spain with our brother Booker T. Coleman. Yeah, okay. What I can do with this is... You're
ready. Good afternoon. Hotep, my brothers and sisters. It is very good to be back with the African Echoes family. What I'd like to do this afternoon is just echo a few things that I heard my brother Nooney speak about. First of all, we would like to dedicate our presentation today to our brother, the Honorable Bob Marley, because he truly is a prophet to me. His words are so prophetic. In many ways, he repeated what was said in the past, but he also projected what we'd be facing in the future. And Bob Marley was very special to me in terms of his message and what he was about, so we would like to dedicate this to our brother, Bob Marley. And we would also like to talk in terms of the curriculum that was spoken about just a few moments ago. And what is so very important is for us as a community to understand that this curriculum is very real. And when I talk about curriculum and when I talk about education, I'm not just talking about our young people being able to succeed. I'm not only just talking about them excelling, I'm talking about them being able to take this information to a higher level. And in the research that I've been doing over the past couple of months, about 13 months exactly, on the Moors, what I've come to realize is that they did in what they call Al-Andalus. That's what the Iberian Peninsula was called back then by the Moors. We today call it Spain and Portugal, but they call it Al-Andalus. And when you examine the Spanish language, again, as I tell my brothers and sisters from Puerto Rico and from República Dominicana, Cuba, I say the only difference between us is a boat stop. In our communities, we have such a problem, particularly where language divides us, in terms of our identification with exactly who we are as a people. And it's so important to understand the role that language plays in understanding who the Moors are. Because even when you look at the word Al-Andalus, and if I can move into concepts in Islam, understanding, of course, that the peoples that we see today, such as Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi, they are what came later. The Arabic language is deeply steeped in the African tradition, clearly. It's deeply steeped in the African tradition. The words that come out of Arabic, Antar, one of the first formers of the Arabic language, clearly was an African. Much of what we see in Islam today, although there are others, we have to return back to the model that Sheikh Anta Diop gave us when he spoke about the northern and southern cradle. Basically, when you look at the map, as we develop an understanding of who the people are that we're dealing with, that all life started in Africa. If we can start with that concept of life starting in Africa, then we can move around and understand exactly who all of these people are on the earth. There was only one race on earth, and that's the human race. And by the nature of climatological biology, or biological climatology, however you like to phrase it, because of biology and climate, these humans, in the beginning, had to have been very darkly pigmented in order to survive. These dark-complexioned Africans, beginning life, or organic life as we see, and you know, there are so many scientific principles that show this. Principles that are biological in nature. For instance, the gorilla. You will only find the gorilla in Central Africa, in a mountain range known as the Virunga Mountains. The Virunga Mountains exactly are almost the cutting edge of the countries that we know today as Uganda, Zaire, and Rwanda. It's called the Virunga Mountains, and you have the mountain gorillas in the higher parts of the mountains, and those gorillas that then moved down off of the mountain became the eastern lowland and the western lowland by virtue of the direction in which they went. And as they traveled down the mountains and across, we're talking about hundreds if not thousands of years, over time these gorillas, these apes, varied themselves, but very in small details. But basically, you're only going to find gorillas in one part of the world. Now, most of the apes that are so closely allied to humanity are very close to this proximity here. Now, I'm not saying that human beings evolved out of apes. I am saying that apes and humans had a common ancestor. That at one point in history, our ancestors climbed down out the trees and began to walk on the earth. This troubles a lot of people, because a lot of people want to feel as if humanity was divinely touched, because it would be too difficult for those minds who taught this to realize that they come from someone very African oriented. So they have put out a story